Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Today we're going to be talking about some Styanax builds. Um, Originally, I didn't make a proper build for him, so this is, if you will, very out of season. Um, so I'm going to go over the basic builds. I'm going to go over a slightly different one, but due to the shard system, and now that we finally have uh, like some proper flexibility and like picking choices, this is actually going to be a full frame build where normally I don't do these. So I'm going to start at the bottom, very basic. I'm going to cover it very quickly, and then we're going to go to the Steamroller build that is now available. Um, so Styanax, pretty basic. 50th frame, abilities, final stand, pretty straightforward. You jump in the air, you and your homies spear people to death, deal slash and explosive damage, or blast damage. Rally point, nice little AoE buff. You get energy and shields per kill. Shields come from any kill that is in the AoE. So you can trigger them, your friends, teammates can trigger them. And it's got a duration with a pretty hefty drain, which is on the cast, it's not a dot. Theros Strike, bread and butter, full defense reduction, so it can reduce armor and shield in one go. If you hit, I think, 175 armor with corrosive projection. If you don't have corrosive projection, the number you're looking for is 200% power strength, which is now easier than ever to hit. The other one is Axios Javelin. It says crowd control, quick cast, very cheap. You're going to be spamming this a bunch. So let's go over the build. This is the very comfy build. What everybody can afford, except for maybe that. Very well rounded, hits 200% power strength, 230. And with Xenuric, it'll do 220, so easy full strip, even with corrosive projection. If you have Prime Ship footed, obviously put it back on. Molt augmented is where we're getting most of our power strength from. You get it from the Zeraman, just run your dailies. This is definitely a candidate for something that you would farm first with your standing. But this is just a very comfy build. It's very safe. It's not exactly going to scale incredibly well, but you got a bit of power strength, 210. It's definitely going to do some damage with the 4. And between Arcane Aegis, if you have this, definitely equip it. Between Arcane Aegis, Adaptation, Rolling Guard, you should be able to stay alive pretty well, especially in a team setting. So a very basic build, using some of the new mods. If you don't have Archon Intensify, Prime Continuity, just go with what you have. There's really not too much benefit for these. Sorry, Archon Intensify. Very easy to get. Adaptation comes from arbitrations. But really well-rounded build, nothing fancy. An alternative to Arcane Aegis, you could do pretty much any of the Zeraman Arcanes. You could do the duration one or also the power strength on operator ability to get the power strength pretty quickly. It's 45, and with Archon Intensify up, really easy to hit 200 power strength, get that strip going super quick. And the 3, the AoE, the buff, is instanced, and as long as you keep the buff up, you'll have it. So you just got to keep refreshing it. Just keep right before it expires, you just cast it again. So for this build, it's going to be every 46.5 seconds. So say every 45 at a minimum. Just recast it. You'll keep the full strength buff. Easy going, right? Okay. This build is now possible. It's slightly different, but if you notice, we have way more range and the power strength is down. This build is now possible because of the sharding system. If you notice with overextended, I should be at 70% power strength, but the number that we need to hit with corrosive projection is 170. Sorry, 175. So we have 80 plus 60 plus... Sorry, not 70. Plus 30 from the buff, right? And we get another 20 from our operator ability, because I'm running Zynerek. So that's another 20 that gets us over the amount that we need to full strip with corrosive projection with a pretty decent margin. So just with this buff, or just with this build, you are going to lose either rolling guard or adaptation, so to your own tolerance. Adaptation at lower levels, steel path, whatnot, and especially in a team setting. If you're running general missions, this might be the build to go, and just recast rally point as you're going through, because the radius on this is massive. So this is shields for a good deal, like an entire tile set. You'll be regenning shields, so you'll be able to stay alive pretty quickly, because it's going to be 4 people's worth of kills, because you're going to be killing, your teams are going to be killing, right? So this will be proccing quite a bit. 40, and a Aegis is going to have a bunch of shield to chew on for it to proc, and you'll be regenning shields at the same time. And provided your team is killing every 0.3 seconds, something dies, right? Anywhere in a 70.5 meter radius, so 140 meter range, provided something's dying every 0.3 seconds, you're practically invulnerable, right? Because you'll constantly have shield to eat into the shield gate. So very comfy, casual build, but it requires a power strength shard. Let me show you the sharding. 2 casting speed and 10 ability strength. Just a single one allows us to hit the power strength target on all of these builds. And I just did 2 melee crit damage. And I'll show that reason later. Okay, so nice easygoing build. You don't need the 10 for this. And it accelerates this one. Now here's where we need the 10, because we make our cap by 5. And I'm going to put shield gating back on. Okay, so I'm having some polarity issues. So some options, and it's probably wise to build another Styanax. Like, make this the dedicated power strength meme build. Because if I didn't have to put narrow-minded here, I would put prime continuity and just eat the difference. But I would be able to not equip stretch. Because one of the issues is this is actually an Arcane Avenger build. And in order to lower down the combat discipline enough so I don't die, because I tried this in Steel Path, and I basically kill myself instantly with it max ranked. I can keep myself alive, because I actually put a helmet on here. I can keep myself alive pretty easily, but the combination of the health loss, because you're killing 20-30 enemies at once, and the occasional instance of damage getting bypassed on, like, say, me messing up shield gate. it is an incredibly unforgiving build. That being said, it is hella fun. So here's how this works. If you look, Styanax's shield with Decaying Dragon Key is 188. It's a straight up steamroll build. If you stop, you die. And the logic behind this is I'm literally not going to have time to cast his 4, so I Helminthed it off for Blood Altar to use it as a gap closer. Rolling Guard, Blood Altar, or you can Blood Altar, Rolling Guard, because Blood Altar, as you're flying through the air, is iframes. And this is such a sweaty build, but you can stay permanently shield gated and Rolling Guard the entire time. And it's obviously starting from scratch, 100% damage reduction. But you have got to be casting and spamming. So that's part of the reason why I did the casting speed. And to be honest, I feel like I need to get rid of one of these crit damage shards and put another casting speed. Like I have Ital Forged Yellow that I'm thinking I need to put here. Just to increase the rotation. It's fast enough as it is. But there are times where I'm trying to complete the rotation. And I'm still dying occasionally in it. So Rolling Guard to keep your rally point up. Even with not natural talent, but the 2 casting speed shards for 50% cast speed, it's still kind of a long animation. But that being said, combat discipline between Equilibrium and the synth set on the Panzer, synth deconstruct, synth fiber, Equilibrium, and Blood Altar. And to be honest, Blood Altar literally serves one purpose. With combat discipline and Blood Altar, as long as I am standing in the healing aura from Blood Altar, I'm guaranteed to proc this. So if I'm standing in this and killing enemies, this is 60% ability strength the entire time. So why all this ability strength? It's because we need 377 power strength in order to get rally point up to 189 shield per kill. So the shields, let's go back over to this one. So at 140 power, 145 power, or sorry, 140 power strength, the shields that we get per kill are half. So it's simple math. So 188 times 2, because that's our ratio. So in order to get 188 shields, we need 376 strength. So every time we kill something, if we kill something once a second, we're immortal, right? But in order to get with overs, we're immortal. But in order to get overs, we need to have one more power strength. So that's where the shard comes in. We make it over by like 8. With nothing procced, we make it over by like 8 power strength. And then once augmented gets stacked up, it gets a little bit more comfy. So the method that I've been using to get this stacked up is this would be for like a survival run. You start out with like an AoE weapon, like a Brahma or something like that, or a Tonkor. Get your stacks up. Stand on top of the enemy that's blood altered, and just clear enemies. And once you get stacked up, that's when you go into melee range and you start killing stuff. And as long as you steamroll and as long as you're killing, you're basically immortal. As fun as this build is, the Blood Altar, to be honest, if I could get a better gap closer, because the range on this is 21 meters, and you're practically teleported there, is maybe you could swap out for Loki's decoy and swap. But I haven't tried that yet. But this build works as is. So if you can fix your polarity issues, this is a 7 form of Styanax. This build is way overbuilt. I've done like regular steel path and it's perfectly fine for regular mission running. It falls off on longer runs, right? Because you need the shield gating. You need a way to shield gate. And none of these abilities, except for Styanax's 1, can grant instant overs. You could theoretically use Rally Point, but the casting speed is balls. You can technically do it with a Theros Strike build, where you use Blind Rage and you stack the Augur mods, and you need Coaction Drift. But with 5 Augur mods and Coaction Drift, Theros Strike can shield gate for you. But it's very, I find it a little boring. Just walk in, just hit stuff with your 2, and then you kill them. It's very, very repetitive. Walk in, 2, bomb them. Walk in, 2, hit them with a taunt core, they're dead. Right? This one is incredibly sweaty. But you're a powerhouse because you basically permanently proc Avenger. You're permanently shield gated. Provided you can kill. So you need a very, very, very strong melee. Now, I've tested a couple of builds, and there's basically 2 builds that you have to go for. You have to go for a ranged dot build and use the dots, killing the enemies in like a staggered fashion to sort of buffer your shield gating. Because if you blow up all the enemies at once, like say you kill like 10 enemies at once, you get 1800 shield, right? Or 1890. And then you get 1 shot. You don't have another shield gate past the one that you currently have. But if you use a dot build and you kill the enemies, and the enemies are dying, like 7 or 8 enemies are dying over 5-6 seconds, you essentially have an 8-second shield gate. So dot builds work really, really well for this, but you got to be able to get them started, though. And that's where the trouble is. But once you get it going, this puppy cooks, especially if you got range. So this is not a cheap build. Crit damage, attack speed, Toxin Riven for the double dot. Boreal's Contempt. If you have this, make sure to use it. But it's a standard combo counter build. The Riven is my crit damage, so I had to take a hit there. But we got extra dot damage. The damage from status effects gets scaled by this, and it's also a decent base damage increase. It's basically another Condition Overload proc, right? A little more. So, standard dot build, nothing crazy. We even got a Zacti, Corrosive Heat, to kill enemies in groups. The explosion is forced impact, so it'll be a little bit of CC for us. And of course, the Tonkor. I did equip Precision Strike. If you don't have this, to be honest, that kind of sucks, because it's a nice mod. But you could do Prime Fast Hands, because the issue is going to be is the reload on this is longer than our shield gate at lower levels, because we're not getting a full overguard shield gate. So the reload, you will die before the reload ticks. The only thing that's sort of a saving grace is you gain the shield when the enemy dies. So the different strength of slash procs, where maybe it'll kill the enemy and direct impact, maybe it'll kill the enemy on like the second tick. You know what I mean? That definitely helps, because it's when the enemy dies. So the same thing as the dot build for the melee. But Precision Strike is a little less than triple primed fast hands, but it's the conditional of the actual physical projectile has to hit an enemy. But it knocks the reload down to next to nothing. Sorry, sip of water. So alright, let's try it out. Alright, so I'm gonna go do some Tavuni. The build is pretty self-explanatory. You go glass cannon and survive off of the 3. That being said, if you try this, if you're down for the meme build, if you forget to cast your 3, all you have to do is get the proper strength of 3 one time, and then from then on, it's just, you just have to refresh it. So like every 40, like 30, 40 seconds, just recast it, right? But I'm going to do some gameplay. And I'll give commentary once everything's stacked up, because that's going to be the big issue, right?
Scans show Green are harvesting Kuba nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out, then steal their Kuba catalysts. Predictable. As expected, Grenier have shut down the environmental systems, sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment, or attach Kuba catalysts to begin harvesting. Delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time. Support incoming. Additional life support has arrived.
All right, so we stacked up our arcane. On the next cast, we're going to get our overguard. So pay attention to the shield. We're going to be hitting overguard with every kill. We're dealing tons of dots. Even went with a ton of range on the Guandao, which is a really strong melee. The Guandao Prime. Obviously, we're hitting reds. The double crit damage is compensating for the Riven with the weaker crit damage slot on it, and it also frees up the Boreal's Contempt mod. So I'm not having to run double like a Glad mod, which was honestly what was there before. All right, sip of water. Hopefully we don't die.
is making progress. This will help our cause. When you are ready, now to extraction.
Yeah, as you can see, that rotation is a little long. And the gap closer from Blood Altar is so nice when you're just sort of like standing out there. Oh my god, please.
Critical life support levels. Extraction is your best option.
All right, whatever. But there you go. One day I will learn to void sling. But you see how the build builds up. Um, and if you're getting absolutely mobbed, where you're constantly being attacked, you go and kill a group. You've got shield gate the entire time. Every time you kill something. Um, and when you need to gap close and to save your shield gate, you just blood altar over. Um, to be honest, I love this play style. This isn't a big brain build, but I love this play style where it's super fast. You know, you have to shield gate. It's very twitchy. Um, and what's basically become very passive gameplay amongst a lot of the warframes. I love the fact that this is in the game. Like, the combat discipline build feels so good. Like, there's a reward for it. You do way more damage, like 50% flat crit chance. Plus the passive. You're constantly proccing it, keeping it up. It's easy to hit reds on a lot of weapons. And, like, everything has a purpose. Like, the only thing that's honestly kind of a flex slot could be considered Prime Flow. But Rolling Guard has a purpose. Narrow-minded, I would say you could probably swap out for Prime Continuity and then save Stretch and get rid of that. But I'm having polarity problems. Maybe I'll build another one and make this like a case-specific build, but it's going to require a bunch, right? Because I'm not going to have the Aura slot being used. It's going to be an unranked one. But due to the Archon shards, this is in the game now, and I am a big fan. Especially with the melee crit damage. Avenger, that is a hell of a combo. So food for thought. I really enjoyed this. But anyway, have a blessed day, guys. Take it easy. Stay excellent.